Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here, and it's time for another reaction request. If you have a video that you would like me to react to, check the description below. There's a link that'll take you to a Google document full of all of the relevant information. So today we're doing another death battle. It's Magneto versus Tetsuo, as you can see here. Marvel versus Akira. And, yeah, when this video was requested, I knew I was going to have to admit something rather shameful. I've never actually seen Akira. I know what it is. I know it's a classic in the world of anime, but I never got around to it. I never encountered it. Like, I mean, I would guess that it's probably, I mean, it's a little bit before my time, I would say. Like, it came out, I think, like, in the 80s, right? Like, late 80s, so I was, like, not in the, I was not immersed in the world of anime at that point. It took a few years. Like, over a decade before I was like a big anime fan. And I remember even when I was becoming a big anime fan, I would hear about Akira, and I know what it looks like. I know it was a big deal, but it just never I never encountered it. Like, I don't think it ever got played on, like, I mean, because it's like a mature film with like lots of violence, right? So it never got played on like Cartoon Network or anything, which is where I was first encountering a lot of anime. And like, I don't know. Like, even like when Adult Swim started up with the anime, I don't think they ever played it. So, yeah, just something I never really saw anywhere. I mean, by the time I was discovering anime on my own, I wasn't really looking at like films from at that point over 20 years ago. Yeah, I just never ended up seeing it, and I kind of regret that. I mean, maybe I should someday, because it is apparently a big deal. Like, it is one of those anime films that even people who aren't really into anime, a lot of them know it. But on the other hand, when it comes to Magneto, I actually am very familiar. I've said before, and it is true, that I'm more into the DC side of things than Marvel, and that's largely due to all the DC animated universe stuff back in the day, which I was big into. And I wasn't so much into the Marvel stuff. The exception, however, was the X-Men. I really liked the old X-Men cartoon in the 90s. I was definitely watching all of that. And, of course, Magneto was a big part of that. And also with the films. I did see all of the original X-Men films, the original trilogy, X-Men 1, 2, and 3. I don't think I saw all the ones after that. I saw Days of Future Past, which, I mean, that's another one that Magneto was definitely a big part of. And... well, I saw Logan, but I don't know if that counts. Yeah, I know they made quite a few more beyond those two, and I don't think I've seen any of those, but I've seen a lot of X-Men films, so I definitely know a lot about Magneto. I know he's a definite big powerhouse character. Like, I mean, he can take on the whole X-Men squad just single-handedly a lot of the time, and he is super powerful with his metal control power. Magnetism and whatever. And Tetsuo, obviously, with his name, I can kind of tell that he's the same thing. Tetsu is steel in Japanese, and I guess he also has metal powers. But I don't really know too much about him. I guess I'm going to learn. We'll learn a little bit about Akira here, even though I've never seen it. And obviously, not knowing the character, I can't really predict this one. I can't really say who I think is going to win. But maybe after they do their breakdowns, I'll be a bit more prepared to make a call. And then we'll get into the actual battle itself. Anyway, here we go. Let's get started.
Episode of Death Battle is sponsored by HelloFresh and Bespoke Post.
2 sponsors. Death Battle.
Magneto, Marvel's mutant master of magnetism.
Tetsuo Shima, Akira's telekinetic terror of Neo-Tokyo.
These two maestros of kinesis have ignited revolution not just in their worlds, but also the very mediums they exist within.
He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick.
And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. In the short duration of modern civilization, likely no conflict tested humanity more than the Second World War. In the primary Marvel 616 universe, this fact is no different, especially to the Eisenhart family and their only son.
You may know him as Magnus, Eric, or Max, but if you ask him, he'd say his true name is Magneto.
As a Jewish child in Nazi Germany, Magneto's early life was, well, extremely traumatic.
Even after eventually escaping certain death with his future wife, misfortune always followed wherever he went.
Thanks to his unexpected mutation called the X gene, the mark of a superhuman. After settling down in Russia with his new family, the KGB quickly found out about this quirk, so they burned his house down with his own daughter inside.
Naturally, he snapped and killed them all. I don't blame him. I'd do that too.
Yeah.
Didn't get it and ditched him though. But that's when Magneto made a choice. Since humans hurt him his entire life, he'd do the same to them in the name of mutants everywhere.
At first, Magneto turned to the telepathic powerhouse Charles Xavier and his fledgling team of heroes. But his new friend wasn't thrilled with the idea of, subjugating the human race. So, Magneto formed his own team
kind of a hard
the
sell there.
Brotherhood.
Magneto can telekinetically move, bend, and reshape any metal he's aware of. Bullets, vehicles, buildings, you name it. Even himself when he manipulates his personal magnetic field for flight and energy barriers.
Magnetokinesis is far more versatile than it would appear at first glance. The blood in
Yeah.
your body has
It gets pretty
The
crazy.
air has traces of lead and mercury. Whole mountains are lined with metallic ore. The Earth itself is surrounded by a literal magnetic field.
Yeah.
Many toys for Maggie to play with. He can detect magnetic fields at such a huge range, he can even pinpoint Earth's magnetic rays while stranded on a planet in another galaxy. And guess what?
Wow.
He was able to use those rays to pull himself back to Earth in a single day.
His range is even more remarkable
That's crazy.
than that. Did you know that in 1820, physicist Hans Christian Ørsted discovered that electric currents...
I haven't heard anything about Tetsuo yet, but this is going to be hard to beat, I think.
Fields. Magneto can fine-tune his control to affect these very subatomic particles.
Wow.
Dummy here will illustrate such a particle, with positively charged protons and negative electrons.
My life is as meaningless as an atom is small.
So what you're saying is Magneto could, like, yank one of those out.
Correct, potentially changing an atom's entire chemical makeup. However, neutrons do not have a charge, and without the ability to adjust those to accommodate the change in atomic mass, the atom would become unstable and...
Finally!
Yeah.
do that. Magneto's violent protest against humankind clashed with Xavier's peaceful reconciliation, not unlike the ideologies taught by Malcolm X and Dr.
The
King.
relationship between these two was
Jack
always
Kirby
pretty
were
interesting, I
inspired.
thought.
Magneto would spend most of his career pushing Xavier away to prove his philosophy superior, which meant doing battle with Xavier's school of thought. Quite literally.
And Baldy's mind powers are no joke, but thanks to Magneto's psionic repelling helmet, Professor X couldn't touch him. Magneto survived Cyclops' earth-splitting lasers, absorbed the power of the sun to battle Iron Man, ripped the adamantium skeleton out of Wolverine's body, and
Yeah, I've heard
took it
about
on
that.
Hercules himself. You know, the Greek legend, Zero to Hero, the guy who held up the skies of Olympus for Atlas? That Hercules.
Seems sensible. Magneto once used the Earth's magnetic field to overwhelm the Phoenix Force, which can effortlessly destroy planets, let alone far more.
Wow.
If he really
Yeah, how would I don't,
Magneto could totally just
mean-
fling the Earth off its axis.
It's entirely possible he may have eventually...
I don't know what Tetsuo can do, but
over time, it
like
became
this
clear
is
Magneto's war was doing far more harm than good for his fellow mutants, however well-intentioned he may have been at first.
Luckily, he later realized he was going a bit overboard and began reevaluating his perspective. Good for you, Mags. It's really tough to recognize when you're the baddie.
It took time and patience not just from Magneto, but also from his peers. Yet eventually, his path was completely changed. He even became a leader for Xavier's X-Men.
But don't let his new goody two-shoes ways fool you. Whenever there's a threat to mutants, you can bet Magneto will be there to annihilate it. Forever, by any means necessary.
All right. Well, what about the other guy? Or I guess we got an ad first.
HelloFresh.
With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep.
Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit.
HelloFresh now has 30 dinner recipes to choose from every single week. That's the most choices of any meal kit.
Foolproof step-by-step recipes mean a joyful cooking experience and a stress.
I wonder if these are actually any good.
HelloFresh cuts back on time.
I know Kiara likes them,
Meals ready
but
in around 30 minutes or less.
I don't know.
HelloFresh is 72% cheaper
Not
than
into
dining
the
at a restaurant and is even cheaper than
idea of
grocery shopping.
pre-prepared
That's
meals.
money back in your pocket.
HelloFresh has definitely saved me on more than one occasion. Mad scientists like myself don't always have the time to do all their own cooking from scratch.
Go to HelloFresh.com/DeathBattle16 and use code DeathBattle16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
That's HelloFresh.com/DeathBattle16 and use the code DeathBattle16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts.
HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
Over 30 years ago, a new type of bomb was set off over Tokyo, and 9 hours later began the Third World War.
Welcome to 2030, or 2019 if you're watching the anime. The buildings are taller, the motorcycles are cooler, and the future is brighter. Oh, wait, not really. If you find yourself in the Capsule Gang, you'll meet Shotaro Kaneda, who's like your textbook anime.
I mean, I guess they weren't that far off from what 2019 would be.
And cops the sweetest rigs. Man, I need to get me one of those.
And then there's the little brother of the group, Kaneda's best friend, Tetsuo Shima.
That is a big
The
forehead.
exact opposite. A total wimp. As a kid, Tetsuo in his college thesis forehead got bullied for being the new kid at the orphanage. That's until Big Bro Kaneda came to the rescue.
Eventually, the two went to vocational school together and formed the Capsules. But Tetsuo was never satisfied with Kaneda being the leader of the pack. Tetsuo desired more than anything to be top dog.
Oh, I can just see that monkey's paw curling in my mind. Or that kid walking down the street. Shit, Tetsuo, watch out, you're gonna...
Oh. Interesting time to cut to an ad.
That definitely should have killed him. But since it didn't, Tetsuo earned himself a ticket to military confinement. Turns out they had an under-the-table program for developing child superweapons.
In the same program that
great, always a great idea in fiction.
War, Tetsuo became Japan's Esper number 41.
He may not have been a natural with bikes, baddies, or babes, but this telekinesis stuff hit different. He walked out of that hospital ward effortlessly flying, reading minds, and blending people into strawberry jelly. Tetsuo got what he wanted. Power, along with the hunger for more of it.
A hunger that used to only be satiated with drugs. And not just any gateway drug, pills so potent that a single gram of the stuff could kill you.
So, pretty bad. Kinda reminds me of college days, huh, Snow Wizard?
Tetsuo's main ability is his constantly increasing psionic energy, growing more and more powerful over time. This is due to Tetsuo's link to, quote, the memories of the universe, end quote.
Okay.
It's weird.
Either way, Tetsuo leveled up from lame gangbuster to certified badass. This guy is a walking natural disaster. His telekinesis can shake the planet.
So despite the name, his powers aren't actually metal related.
He can summon psychic barriers for defense and crush foes with friggin' gravity wells. He can dart around as a literal bolt of lightning or even teleport in an instant.
Tetsuo's telekinesis can be so precise he can target and obliterate specific parts of the body. He can heal some wounds quickly, but even after losing a whole limb, he can craft a new one using whatever nearby material.
Well, that's crazy.
With these powers, Top Dog Kaneda didn't matter anymore. Who needed his approval? Tetsuo tasted that good shit and he was hooked. And when he found out another Esper named Akira could deal him even more power, he rampaged through Tokyo to find him.
And this is where versions of the story differ.
Spoilers ahoy!
You may be familiar with the 1988 animation, where Akira had been
1988.
research.
I was one when this came
out. Akira is not only alive, but even more powerful.
Once that little runt nuked Tokyo, Tetsuo would erect the Great Tokyo Empire with Akira and himself as its leaders. But he ended up just abusing the position for endless sex and inflating his ego.
With Kaneda's rebellion at his front door, Tetsuo took a turn for the worse. He had to fight.
Tetsuo's defeated other powerful espers, dodged light-speed lasers, and jumped to the moon faster than anyone could blink, and then punched a big old hole in it. And if you ask, Boomerstick, wouldn't that mess up gravity on Earth? You would be right, because it totally did.
Yeah,
Planet, I guess.
he does seem pretty
Which
pretty
brings us
powerful
to
here.
Tetsuo's folly. His abuse of his powers spiraled
Oh.
until he lost control. Unfortunately for
Yeah, that doesn't look
Kanada's
healthy.
rebellion, this did not make Tetsuo an easier enemy to confront. Exactly opposite, in fact, has Tetsuo painfully mutated into an unstoppable behemoth.
Yep, that's not totally disturbing at all.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
happy to say the manga's version is even more disturbing.
Oh
I
god.
mean, I know babies can be monsters, but that's a whole nother level.
It is pain incarnate. I can relate. Another Esper described Tetsuo's struggle as ego death, which has multiple definitions, but in this case is likely symbolic of
interesting
the version
concept.
attributed to drug use.
Yeah, it's described as a shedding of one's own identity, like how LSD can emulate a wild out-of-body experience, and you come back with a new perspective. Though this is maybe a little more extreme. In fact, you could say Tetsuo was shedding his human body to play with the powers of a god.
See, we're using the Rick and Morty footage for
My
this.
body. But in this case, Tetsuo going full out of body meant becoming a mouse.
I guess it was the best example of a
Never
drug ship they
expending
could think of.
energy.
Which almost nuked Tokyo all over again. And those explosions are not normal. I would know.
Top scientists in both the manga and animated versions describe these explosions as births of a new universe.
Given its properties of nuclear fusion and proton collapse, Tetsuo's mutated form was likely creating a Big Bang.
You know, the thing that's
Okay.
our whole universe?
Right, in the manga, it instead ended the Espers and their abilities once and for all. A testament that humankind is unsuited to wield the powers of the divine.
Though the anime is even more trippy. Thanks to Akira and his buddies, Tetsuo got so high on ego death, he ascended time-space to become god of a new universe. Kinda worth it, right?
And yet, Kaneda kept his empire up in his honor, now as the Great Akira Empire. Ironically, in death, Tetsuo finally received the attention he so desperately craved.
Okay, yeah, I don't know here.
So the Death Battle is sponsored by
They both seem pretty OP.
Take your summer adventures to the next level with Bespoke Post and their new seasonal lineup of must-have Box of Awesome collections.
Bespoke Post partners with small businesses and emerging brands to bring you the most unique goods every month. Like the
I still want to say Magneto, though. I think Magneto might have the edge here.
Perfect for a true carnivore.
So I don't know. This one could go either
What we
way.
have going on this season, Box of Awesome has you covered. From camping gear essentials to beach day and travel must-haves, Box of Awesome has everything you need for summer.
To get started, take the quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answers will help them pick the right Box of Awesome for you. Each box is valued at around $70, but you only pay a fraction of that price.
Plus, with each Box of Awesome, you're supporting small businesses. 90% of everything that comes in your Box of Awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand.
It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime.
Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code DEATHBATTLE at checkout.
That's boxofawesome.com, code DEATHBATTLE for 20% off your first box. Boxofawesome.com, code DEATHBATTLE.
Alright.
All right, the combatants are set. We've run the data through all possibilities.
It's time for a death battle!
Let's see it.
Even in Japan, they fail to recognize our superiority.
Wrong country, Grandpa! You're an Akira turf now! You're dead meat!
Impudent child!
The hell are you calling child? I make the rules around here!
You're wasting my time.
Oh. Oh, well, he can regrow it.
Politics for the
We saw
master
that.
of magnetism.
I'll kill you!
Oh.
Your history, scumbag!
Oh, wow. This is pretty cool. Well, there goes the helmet. Ooh. Well, that's not good. But yeah, he can do crazy stuff too.
I believe I've had enough tantrums to last a lifetime.
Yeah, and then he's gonna do this stuff.
Listen, welcome. I'll handle this on my own. Not weak. Die! Hurts. Help me.
Yeah, that blood iron. Well,
Poor child.
oh, he came out of it.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, well, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of figured he had that edge. Let's do the explanation though, because
what about?
I guess it has to do with the atomic.
This is English lit.
They brought that up, even sort of really
I'm never doing that again.
made a point to explain that
Tetsuo's
earlier. So
esoteric telekinesis and other bizarre abilities certainly gave Magneto pause, but the Master of Magnetism had greater control over his foe.
The numbers don't lie. Tetsuo cratering the moon was insane, but Magneto punched Iron Man with the force of the sun. And while Tetsuo
Yeah,
went all the way
that's-
to the moon, Magneto could move across galaxies.
Against Tetsuo in his human form, Magneto obviously held a sizable advantage in power and speed.
But stats aren't all that matters. With his precise telekinesis, Tetsuo could just target Magneto's organs. GG, right?
Yes, but Magneto had similar skills. There are very few substances on Earth that lack any metallic or magnetic component, and Magneto is very creative with his powers.
Which he could use to predict Tetsuo's teleportation and even shut down his telekinesis. And his scraps with Xavier prove he could handle Tetsuo's messing with his head. The
No,
big
that's a good point. He's very
challenge
used to
for
that.
Magneto was when Tetsuo's gross mutated power came into play.
oh, sorry.
Especially
I
given
touched
how
my
the
headphone.
detonations from this form were compared to that of a Big Bang. Although the authenticity of that observation is questionable. In truth, the Big Bang was a sudden expansion of matter on a universal scale, whereas Tetsuo's explosions are more akin to nuclear blasts, clearly intentional given the post-war symbolism of the Oculus story.
The whole creating an alternate universe bit wasn't even part of the original material, so we can't exactly call it canon.
But let's just say the comparison wasn't superfluous. Let's say Tetsuo did in fact cause a Big Bang capable of creating or destroying an entire universe, alternate or otherwise.
Turns out Magneto had the tools to stop that too. Helmet Head could overpower Hercules, who was strong enough to hold up the skies of Olympus, which is
Yeah.
literally heaven and an alternate universe.
This doesn't necessarily mean Magneto could easily destroy a universe with a snap of his fingers, but it does prove he can match a similar level of power. And context is everything. Tetsuo's Big Bang eruption specifically exhibited proton collapse, meaning its atomic structure was primarily an unstable mess of neutrons and electrons. And Magneto has detected and commanded unstable electrons before. This means Magneto had every means available to take control over this Big Bang.
Damn, and I thought he could just move some metal around. It's like the question posed by some of the greatest prophets of our time. Fucking magnets. How do they even
Magneto's astonishing power and intelligence.
That's a throwback. I haven't heard that in a while.
Magnetism triumphed.
That was
in
a
the
big
end.
meme back in the
Tetsuo
day.
pushed his luck, but didn't have the metal to pull off the win.
The winner is Magneto.
Oh, cool.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you'd like to directly support the whole Death Battle team, click that join button and consider becoming a member. We'd really appreciate it. Hope you like the next one.
We got Thor versus Vegeta. That's an interesting matchup. And Scarlet Witch versus Zatanna. I actually really like Zatanna. Big fan of her. Don't know anything about the Scarlet Witch, but yeah, that was cool. I mean, even though I don't know, I've never seen Akira, and I kind of feel bad about revealing that, because it's just one of those things where I feel like I probably should have seen it as an anime fan. I mean, Magneto is a character I've always enjoyed, so I mean, it's still cool to see him fight and see him win. Yeah, good stuff. And I was enjoying Death Battle. I think it's very well made, very well put together, and well thought out. I mean, I know sometimes the people watching don't always agree with their breakdown and their decisions about who wins and whatever. But I mean, it's all hypothetical anyway, so I don't really make a big deal of that. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. Hope you guys liked the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.